Well, thank you for being here today for this weekend devotional. I spent a little time this afternoon with a little bunch of chickens that I have, hobby chickens. But I spent the afternoon leg banding them and writing down what the breed was, what their potential was, what they looked like, to prepare for next year's season. And so often we spend a lot of time marking those things that we want to or others to know who they belong to, keeping records so we'll know what we have, what they look like, what they seem to be. We spent twice a year when I was on the ranch branding cattle, earmarking them, and also would put a special mark on them if they were a heifer that we wanted to keep for the next year's season. But we marked them so that people would know who they belonged to. We marked them so that we would know what they were, what we those that we saw great potential in, we mark them in a special manner. But this idea of marking so that we might know what we have, so that we might be able to see that which was ours. But I want us to look at a different kind of mark this morning or today. Jesus, before he went to that cross, speaking to his disciples as they left the upper room and as they went uh, out, he began to speak of something that he sought out of them, that he wanted them to know. And in my mind, being it was one of the last things that he really gave to the group, we must or we should see it as being very, very important. In John, the 14th or 13th chapter, in verse 31, he said, "And when they had gone out, Jesus said, Now the Son of Man is glorified." He's speaking of himself. And God is glorified in him, in that he would be giving his life. And if God is glorified in him, God will also glorify him in himself and glorify him at once. Little children, yet a little while I am with you. You will seek me, and just as I said to the Jews, so now I say to you, where I'm going, you cannot come. A new commandment I give you, that you love one another, just as I have loved you. You also are to love one another. By this all people will know that you are my disciples, if you have love for one another. I think it becomes very important that we see these things. In a world full of hate, in a world where those there may be friends, they may be best buddies, until the good that for that one person has been fulfilled, and then they may not know them anymore. But he said, as children of God, that love we have for one another, that love we have for God, and that love that we show for one another, that is visible becomes a mark. It identifies us. It tells the world who we are. It tells the world what we're about. It tells the world that we belong to God. Do we exhibit that mark? That's a mark that we live within. As a child of God, it's what he asks of us. He seeks of us to love one another. It's important. It was very important because he spent the time to tell his disciples what they were to look like, or the mark they were to bear before he faced the cross. We're to bear a mark. Oh, it's not a mark that's put on us, it's a mark that we exhibit in our life, or it's a mark that becomes exhibited in our life. That love for one another, that love for each of us within the body of Christ. caring for one another, seeking that which is good for one another, lifting one another up, not looking to destroy the other, not looking to turn them to the wolves, but looking to help in every manner that we can one another to remain steadfast in God, but to exhibit a love that becomes the mark of that one who is a child of God, showing who the Christ is, showing who God is, living in our lives that mark. It becomes important. It is who we are. It's who we belong to. It's that mark that has been put upon us because we love God. He said, live in it. Live in that love. Live in that love. Exhibit that mark that the world might see it, that they might know who you belong to. I want to thank you for being here today. I want to thank you for spending the time to think about what God has said. Thank you for the thoughts that you put forth in striving toward living the life that God seeks for us, showing others that we belong to Him, being willing to exhibit the mark in your life. Well, thank you so much for being here, and may God bless.